Hello there, and welcome to Tales of the Force, a place for fans to tell their Star Wars stories. Joining me today is Mark. Mark, aka the Canerdian Jedi, is a lifelong Star Wars fan from Nova Scotia, Canada. He runs the Holocron Chronicles podcast as part of the Secret Friends Unite podcast network and enjoys sharing his love of Star Wars through his Canerdian Jedi accounts, including the newfound love of cosplaying original characters like the Pirate Jedi, Bananakin Skywalker, the Jurassic Jedi, and more. He hopes his positivity for all things Star Wars shines through in everything he does and reminds people that Star Wars is for everyone. Don't forget, this is Mark's personal story. It's not my place on the show to dismiss, diminish, judge, or have an opinion on his story. Any views, thoughts, or opinions expressed are his own. Any comments on this episode and story are expected to be respectful. With all of that out of the way, please join me in welcoming Mark to Tales of the Force. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I am really, really good. I'm excited to be here.
Good. I'm excited for you to be here. Thank you for coming on the show and wanting to talk to me about your Star Wars story and journey with Star Wars. I still am always super, honestly, just blown away. I was going to say flattered, but it's like more than that. It's like blown away that anybody wants to like come on this and talk to me about Star Wars. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming on.
Oh no, thank you for inviting me. I say the same thing. We just today I uploaded my 95th episode of my podcast,
Congrats.
and
And tell
thank
everybody
you.
about it
We're
too. Like I was going to ask you to
um,
do that, but this is perfect. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah. So it's called Holocron Chronicles. It's part of a network of podcasts called Secret Friends Unite podcast network. And so that's the Star Wars show we do every 2 weeks. So 95 episodes, 2 weeks. I've been at it for a little while. Um, and I feel the same way about every single guest that we have on. And I always try to get new guests because I love learning about people's Star Wars stories, the same as you do.
Yeah.
So I love this as a concept for a show. And it's very, very rare that I'm on this side of things. So I'm super
Yeah.
excited.
You're on the other side. You're the guest this
Yeah.
time. It's like Beauty and the Beast is playing in my head for some reason. I don't
All
know
right.
why, but the whole be
Yeah.
our guest thing.
Yeah. I shouldn't have got my haircut if that's, I could be the beast if I had a little bit more scraggly hair.
Oh, that's awesome. Tell people more about your podcast. Yeah, people are just going to have to know my brain is just like everywhere today. I'm not even editing this out. Like it is an ADHD day. I am medicated and like I've been drinking water. Like I don't know, but it's just a day. So who knows where this is going to go.
It's a day that is perfectly okay. We'll flow with it and we'll go with
We're
it.
just going to ride the wave, right? And I got
So
a new chair and I just want to spin in it too.
that's fine.
But
All right, we can make this a dance
I know,
episode
right?
and get the Max Rebo band or something playing in the background. We can
Yes.
edit that in later. I, I always end my shows by saying Rex play us out, and I'm sure half the people listening think I'm talking about like Captain Rex, but I'm not. I'm talking about R3X, like the DJ droid at
Yes.
Galaxy's Edge,
Yes.
who used to be the droid at Star Tours, and has this weird little funny Disney kind of backstory that only Disney kind of comes up with for weird little people who follow along with like the backstory of droids between rides in Disney World and Disneyland. but I love that. And when I went down to Galaxy's Edge like 2 weeks after it opened and got some video of Rex, so I always put that at the end of of my podcasts. So yeah, we can throw some music in here. We can have like a swivel chair dance party.
Have you seen Kevin though at Oga's?
Kevin, no.
Okay, so Kevin, I don't know much about Kevin, but I want to learn more about Kevin. Kevin, I don't know if that's his real name, but that's what the bartender said his name was. There is this little animal thing, I don't know what it is, that lives in a little, it looks like a little terrarium or like something.
Yeah.
They called him Kevin.
I did not know that thing had a name. I spotted it when I was there.
I don't know if that's his official name, but that's what the bartender
It is now. Totally.
It's Kevin.
100%. That's canon for me.
Yeah.
Is canon, Kevin canon. 1000%. I'm going back in April and I'm going to keep an eye out for Kevin.
Yes.
For sure.
Love Kevin.
Yeah. I love the little details that they put in Batuu.
Yes,
I don't know if you read the book. I listened to the audiobook on my on the flight down there.
I listened to the audiobook too. Yes.
And it's such a good job on it. Like,
it's so good. And I've told people this on here. So I will keep it short so I'm not like repeating myself again. But I was so excited to see Vi after like listening to the book. And I've said this on here before. The stormtroopers left my shirt because it said Kylo Ren on it. Vi was not a fan, and Vi will school you if you have any First Order or Kylo Ren or something like that, and she'll tell you what's up, and it was an interesting conversation.
I had the exact opposite interaction. Vi used me as a human shield to hide from stormtroopers, and I had to escort her like through part of the park and around a corner because there was First Order stormtroopers coming one way, and she was like, please hide me. So like there were a couple of us and she kind of like scurried behind us and she was like, thank you for helping the resistance. And we were like, yeah, we got this. And then I went and built a lightsaber, and it was like the most Star Wars day I could have had. So
I love that so much.
Yeah, very, very opposite experiences with Vi.
Yeah, Vi was not a fan of my Kylo shirt.
Yeah. I
suppose
you wouldn't be. I was trying to
hold it, like I was trying to hide it with my sling bag. Like I was like slowly and she was like, girl, what does that say? I was like, nothing. And she was like, does that say Kylo Ren? I was like, maybe. Like, and I should have said I'm a spy. Like, I'm dressed as a spy.
There you go. Yeah.
But I didn't think about it at the time because my friend that was with me threw me under the bus and was like, I don't have any. Do you see that on me? No, nothing. And I was like, dang it. But I got to like spin it on Ray though, because Ray was there too. And I was like, but people can change. Right, Ray?
Because, all right.
Like they're in part of the story where he's still bad. So like nothing that we know has happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Vi gave her like the hardest side eye. It was like hilarious and was like, redemption's her thing, not mine.
I love how in character they are and how in universe everything is there.
Yes, like props to whoever was a cast member playing Vi during MegaCon this year. Girl, props to you. You did so good.
Fantastic.
You made me never want to wear a Kylo anything to Galaxy's Edge because I felt horrible.
I'm gonna
and I
keep
didn't even
that in
get
mind.
to see Kylo.
Oh no!
So mad.
Oh yeah, Kylo.
But I did get hit on by a stormtrooper. Did not have that on my bucket list. Never on my bingo card. I was like, oh wow, that's it. Didn't expect that. Cool.
Yeah, that's probably like a short list of like people who can actually put that like on a resume or. Yeah,
I don't know. He said I had a nice likeness, so I felt like I was like, did what? I was so confused. I was like, what happened? Did a stormtrooper just hit on me? And my friend was like, I think so. I was like, that is the weirdest thing that's ever happened.
It's like, all right, Buckethead, come on, take me for a blue milk. Let's do this.
Oh,
Yeah,
Galaxy's Edge is so fun. It's
it's
so fun.
amazing,
And getting
amazing.
to like fly the Falcon and all the
Yeah.
rides, everything. It's just, it's like you were saying, it's so immersive. And Disney just hides so many fun little like details in it. Like it's so incredible. What is
Hmm.
any other favorite like moment that you've had at Galaxy's Edge?
Um, Building the lightsaber for me was just incredible. Something I've wanted to do since I was reading the Young Jedi Academy books when I was a
Yeah.
kid, which are, you know, legends now, obviously very changed. When I heard Disney was going to do sequels, I was like, are we going to see Jason and Jaina? Are we going to see like that whole crew, Tenel Ka? Um, so like I was super excited for that. I liked the sequels. I named
Yeah.
my kid Finn. I, you know,
Aww.
no bashing here, love everything.
Oh, I love it.
But Tenel Ka is the reason that I built a Rancor tooth lightsaber.
Oh, that's so
Because she was so good.
cool.
So I had two inspirations for my lightsaber. One was like the wood,
Mm-hmm.
which because like Gunji's lightsaber,
Oh my gosh, Gunji.
top
Yes.
tier, top tier.
I don't know if you saw this, but like I just guested on the Pod Awakens podcast and we did a lightsaber like draft.
Yep.
And one of the guys, like Jordan, picked Gunji and Tiara, who's been on your
Yes.
show. She and
Yeah.
I were so mad. We were like, what? And Ron, the other guy that does the show, was blown away. He was like, wait, y'all all wanted Gunjis? We're like, yes. So I love
Because
that you
it's the
just said
best
that.
lightsaber. It is the
It's
best
so
lightsaber.
cool.
It's so cool. It's like Wookiee Jedi. I'm going to get into a whole tangent here. Like Wookiee
I love
Jedi are
it.
rare enough on their own. A wooden lightsaber, just so good. So I had to, when I saw that this was a piece that you could make the wood
Yeah.
lightsaber, and then like I said, Tenel Ka, I was just like, I gotta go. Even though she's kind of relegated to legends now, I gotta do the Rancor tooth from a girl.
I love it.
Even though her first lightsaber blew up and took her arm off. So probably not the best vibes to be like, hey, I want to build that lightsaber. But so far so good with this
It's
one.
okay. Savvy has
Um,
like the updated schematics, right?
yeah,
You know, your
yeah,
arm
exactly,
won't blow
exactly.
off.
Her second one was fine. It's okay. Um, that's that's like that experience. And I was just talking to my mother about this yesterday because in April when I go back, my whole family's going. Like my
Oh,
parents,
that's
my sister and her
amazing.
kids, like my family, my brother's fiance, like everyone's going all together. My nephews really want to build lightsabers, so I was talking about the experience with my mom because she was kind of asking like, is it kind of worth the money? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. For me, it
Yeah.
was, they are expensive, but like, so are lightsabers. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even like the cheapest, like I have one here, just like a basic like RGB lightsaber. Like
Yeah.
these are still, like $100 or somewhere around there, a little bit more, whatever
Yeah.
Canadian conversion. And then you get fancier from there, and like those RGB ones are basically glorified flashlights. So you get something like this with a little bit more like LEDs in the blade and some more
Mm-hmm.
effects and like kyber crystals you can swap out and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, they start running up to that couple of $100 price range. Then you
Yeah.
throw in the experience that
Yes.
you're basically like
Yes.
living in Star Wars, part of this live stage production. And again, as someone who's wanted to build a lightsaber since I was like, whatever, 12 or 13 or something, reading those books about these kids building lightsabers at Luke's
Mm-hmm.
academy and training. Because that was never really touched on in the movies, right? Like we just kind of saw Luke like use his dad's lightsaber at first and then just
He
do
got
some
another
front flips
one.
with a green
Yeah.
lightsaber, right? It was just kind of like, oh, cool. Guess he's got a new lightsaber after he
Yeah.
got his hand cut off by his dad. What the hell? These movies are crazy. So, like that was my first experience of like, oh, people build these. Oh, that's what a kyber crystal does. And that's, so like finally getting to live that
Mm-hmm.
was so cool. It was like, I don't, did you build a lightsaber? when you
I
were there?
haven't yet.
Okay.
So
I don't want to ruin the experience and talk about things.
I I want to do it. I this sounds okay. I'm just gonna be honest. None of the sabers themselves are like super something that I like really want, and the
Mm,
ones that you can build,
yeah.
um, like I like them. I think they're cool, but like none of the designs are like super, super, super like just like speak to me.
I
Um,
totally get that.
but so when I went, so I've gone twice and I didn't get a lightsaber the second time I was there because I spent too much money at MegaCon. But that's neither here nor there.
It
Or I
happens.
knew I was going to, so I tried not to spend too much at Galaxy's Edge. Um, but the first time I went, I got Ahsoka's because that
Ooh,
was like a big deal, and I love Ahsoka, and they had her Rebel sabers, and I
nice.
really wanted them. Yes, they are a little bit bulkier than they should be, and that's probably why they got rid of them. But I'm glad that I did it because now they don't make those anymore.
Right.
But I didn't do the experience. That being said, even though none of them just like really speak to me per se, I still want to do it because to me, I'm
Yeah.
like I'm paying for more the experience than the actual saber. To me, it's like the building of the
Yeah.
lightsaber, the whole thing. Like I know I'm gonna cry. Like it's
Yeah.
supposed to be so cool from what everyone has said, and
Yeah.
yeah, I want to do it. And I mean, I know they're changing the different options like all the time. So by the time that
Yeah.
or not all the time, but I think there's been a couple of different
There has been
variations.
at least one change that I'm aware of. And that's what, when you said like, I'm not a huge fan of the designs, I totally feel you. Cause the new updated designs, like this is an elemental saber or an elemental nature lightsaber. I would not build an elemental nature right now. I'm not in love with any of the combinations or any of the designs. There's no Rancor tooth. It's not like the same look of the wood kind of inlays.
Yeah,
I would really have to consider something else. And I don't know if there's another one that I'm
like you
as in
like.
love with.
Yeah, I need to look at them
So
again because it's been
it's
a
tough.
while. But
But they are due for a refresh. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like in April when I go, or the next time that you end up
yeah,
going there. I will say the experience is incredible.
yeah. I mean,
Like I said, I
everything
don't
else
want to
at
ruin it.
Galaxy's Edge is great. So
Yeah, there are moments it was like, I can only describe it as like a religious type experience.
yeah,
Like I'm not a super religious person, kind of, but like that there's a moment you close your eyes and they ask you to kind of like picture something, and I still to this day was like, so they were shining some lights in there,
mm-hmm.
because it was about the Kyra crystals and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, they were shining some lights, and my wife was with me and she was like just behind, just watching. She was like, it was a pitch black room. I was like, I saw a green light and you can't convince me otherwise. uh and
Like I saw what I
and she's
saw.
like,
I know what I
I saw
saw.
what I saw. I know what I saw. And she's like, it was black, dude. My eyes were open. I was just like hanging out and watching. Um, so I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it, but it is a magical experience. If you can
Yeah,
find a combination that you like and you have the money to spare, because
yeah,
it's wildly expensive, to just drop, especially on a Disney trip that is expensive already, or
yeah,
when there's a con or something else going on, like crazy expensive.
yeah.
But so cool, such a great
Yeah,
experience.
I want to do it for sure. I definitely will do it at some point. I don't know
Yeah,
when exactly I'll do it, but I will.
yeah.
I will do it
I
because it looks amazing. And they spent so much time on everything, and
Oh yeah.
everything is just like so magical, and so I don't know, like you do feel like you're on another planet instead of in, Disney.
it yeah, especially if you visit Oga's early enough. Um, so like I said, I was there 2 weeks after Galaxy's Edge opened. Getting into Oga's was super tough. We were checking
Mm-hmm.
every single day. We had all the rest of our trip booked and like restaurants booked, all that kind of stuff. But we were checking like cancellation list. Can we get into Oga's? And we did, but it was at like, I'm going to say maybe 12:30 or so, somewhere around there, like right around noontime, right? So I had like a little bit of breakfast that morning and not much else on my stomach. So we got into Oga's, and you can order whatever. At that time, I think it was maybe you have like 20 to 30 minutes and you can order 2 drinks each. And then you get basically like drink, look around, get out, because there's a lot of people waiting.
Yeah.
So we ordered our drinks. My wife took like one smell of hers, was like, not for me. So I basically chugged 3 very alcoholic drinks in about 10 minutes after I like just bugged out and watched Rex play and like looked at all the little corners and things and all that kind of stuff. So in like 10 to 15 minutes, I had chugged 2 and then ate one, because one was like a petri dish of like,
yeah, it's
like Jello,
what's her
kind of thing.
Like it's her like slime stuff she eats
Yeah,
in the book.
yeah. So those, and then on an empty stomach, and then I hit the Florida sun when I walked out of that building, and was just like, oh, all right, I'm feeling this in Disney World right now.
The drinks are strong at Oga's. Yeah.
And it was such a trip to like go out, and I had my lightsaber, and I got a Ronto wrap, and I sat at a table looking at the Millennium Falcon with a lightsaber on my side, with a little bit of a buzz going on in the heat. And it was just like, I'm in Star Wars. Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah. Like, it was just my wife was just like, I'm done. I got to go get some popcorn. Like, she was like, I know you're having a moment, but like, just like the buzziness of it was just like, oh my God.
I'm here. What's going on?
The Falcon's right there. I can see Chewbacca.
Wild.
It is such a great place, though.
It is. It's so fun. Yeah, and it's so cool. Yeah, Oga's will get you. And now they don't kick you out. Like, they don't really care. Yeah. Like, if you're ordering drinks, like, you can, it's fine. Like, you can be there however long. I remember the first time we went, and it was like at night, and the park was still open for a little bit after, but it was like darker by the time we like got out. And we were like, we had drank so many drinks, I think, that my friends were literally booping stormtrooper snoots. Like, that was like a thing, like in 2020. Like, this was right before the pandemic hit, the first time we went. And I was like, I'm such like a rule follower. And I think, honestly, alcohol probably makes it worse. Like, most people are like, whatever. And I'm like, everyone knows we've been drinking. Stay cool. Like, that's like the type of person I am. Like, stay calm. It's fine. Like, no one will know. And they're like, boop. Like, and the stormtrooper goes, that is a very interesting greeting on your planet. I don't recommend doing that again here, or something like that. And I'm like, we are going to get kicked out. We're going to get kicked out of Disney. They went and tried to pick up Buzz Lightyear. I was like, we're getting kicked out. Like, we're getting kicked out of Disney.
Pick up Buzz Lightyear, like physically lift Buzz Lightyear, or pick him up?
Like, okay, I wasn't there, but I heard it late, like the story later. They were like, we had too many drinks. We were like, can we pick you up? And he was like, no.
See, I wasn't sure if you meant like pick up like the stormtroopers trying to pick you up, or like pick up physically, like lift them.
No, they ran to like Toyland, and we're trying.
I
was like, oh my gosh! Like, I went to the bathroom. They ran and went to try to pick up Buzz Lightyear, I guess. And I come out of the bathroom, I was like, well, I just got left. That's fine. I'll just walk around Galaxy's Edge by myself. And then somehow we flew the Falcon, but I don't know how that happened. I remember a picture, and there's a hilarious picture on my Instagram, actually. And I have, like, my foot up on, like, the table, like, where you can get, and I'm just like, I'm in the Falcon.
Very, very Han Solo of you. That's the vibe.
It was fun. And then last time I went, I learned this trick, and this is good for anybody. And now everyone's going to want these, like, reservations, but you can get cantina reservations after the park closes. And so, yeah. So the park closes at like 8, I think. Or maybe 9. I can't remember. But they take reservations until like I think the last one's like at 10. And
Wow.
so everybody else is gone, and you can go to Oga's and you can wait around Galaxy's Edge. You just like tell people I have a reservation. Like the cast members are gone, but it's so cool to be able to walk around not everyone's gone, but there's not stormtroopers and stuff walking around like after it
Right.
closes, but they're still playing the sound, so you can hear like all the animal noises of Batu like even
Mm-hmm.
stronger. Like it's just such a cool time to be there because there's not a lot
Wow.
of people there, literally just the people that either have reservations or are waiting on reservations. And
Wow.
a lot of times too they won't really, like, let's say your reservation's at 9 and there's like a little bit more time for the cantina to be open. They don't make you just like leave. Like you can still walk around
Wow.
Galaxy's Edge. Like it's really cool. Like you can't ride any of the rides or anything, but like there's some people that were taking pictures during that time and it was like
I was just gonna
insane because of
say,
all the
great time
lights
to
and
go,
stuff.
take
Yeah.
some lightsaber pictures in front of the
Yes.
Falcon or something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
keep that in
fantastic. I didn't know
mind
that. Yeah,
because
I
you
will.
have the whole time up until your reservation. You can stay and then you don't have to necessarily leave. Like I don't think they make everyone leave until the last reservation is done. So
That is so great.
yeah, it's
That's
cool.
so great. Thanks for the advice. I'll keep
Yeah.
that in mind. We're heavy in the like planning out
Oh
days
yes.
part of this trip
Oh, I have
coming
so
up
much I
next
can
year.
tell
So
you. Like
yeah.
not like no one wants to hear all of our Disney planning advice. But I'll send you some stuff because
All
like
right.
we did it really well when we went as like a group. We
Nice.
were there for like a week and
Yeah,
we
that's
made
we're
the most of
going
it.
I think like 8 days or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun and action packed.
Yes. It's
It's gonna be a
so
very
many
this is my
steps
my
too.
first trip with a kid too, so it'll
Oh, it'll be so
be
fun.
really interesting and
Yeah.
very very different
Very
than
different, but it'll be fun.
than my own trips. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
So you talked about building your lightsaber and how that was kind of inspired from some of the books. Was that like your entry point to Star Wars? Or was it the movies? Like how did you like get into all of it that ended up now like, you're an adult and you're going to Galaxy's Edge and you're building lightsabers and all the things you talked about. Like what got you to here?
Uh, my aunt, my dad's sister, 100%. She is a geek and had all of that stuff. And I remember going, to my grandparents' place. I remember when she still lived there with them, and then afterwards going to her place when she moved out and got married and all that kind of stuff. But she always had geeky stuff like Star Wars books, Star Trek books, all the movies, all that kind of stuff, action figures, whatever. But I was always drawn to her VHS copies of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember she kept them in this like glass bookshelf kind of thing, and I'd always kind of like spy on those. And I'm like, what is this? Why, and growing up during that time, like early 90s kind of thing, mid 90s, whatever. Star Wars was kind of everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I remember my grandparents, if we'd go over there like in the summers or something, like they just give us like Star Wars toothbrushes. Like
Yeah.
everyone knew the like, Luke, I am your father, even though it was misquoted, but like it was misquoted everywhere. Like you
Yeah.
knew that. It was just like
Yeah.
culturally, if you've never seen or heard of Star Wars, you kind of knew that quote. So growing up in that time was kind of weird where I knew these characters. I knew Darth Vader, I knew lightsabers, I knew certain things that you just see everywhere and kind of in the cultural zeitgeist. But I had never seen the movies, and I remember she finally said, like, I think you're old enough to watch these. I'm going to give you one VHS movie a week. And I was like, I can watch them in a day. Give me all three of them, please. Especially after I saw episode 4. But at that time, it was still like, the first one. There was the deal, there was only 3. Um, But I remember going home and watching it and just being like, this is incredible. I need more. I'm not going to get more for another week. So I'm going to watch this like 5 to 7 times.
Your aunt knew what she was doing.
She really did.
I like
she
it.
really did. And so I got that. I watched A New Hope for an entire week, multiple times. Gave her back that one. Got Empire. Same deal. Even more. Mind blown. Oh my goodness. You know, Darth Vader is who Darth Vader is. This is happening. That's happening. I love you. I know. Like, mind blown.
All the things, yes.
And then Jedi, that opening bit, Luke doing the flips, coming out as a full Jedi. You see him in the black. You're like, did he go to the dark side? What is going on here?
Yeah.
He let his friends get captured. He gave away his droids. What's happening? And then he flips out and he gets the green lightsaber and he's doing all the rescue heroics. And it was just like that for me. If I wasn't hooked before watching those first two over and over again, like I wore out the tape for Jedi. Like that was just my jam. Still probably my favorite Star Wars movie. So that was it. After that, I was hooked. Anything I could get my hands on. And that's when I got into those young Star Wars, the young Jedi Academy books or whatever they're called, which I still have. Like they're in a bookshelf just behind me around that corner. I was so excited when I found those a few years ago at my parents' house. We were just kind of moving some boxes around. I was like, oh, that's where these are.
Yay.
I'm taking those to my house. Instantly, like, and my mom was so happy. She's like,
oh, yes. The one Star Wars book that I had, I can't find when I was a kid.
Oh, no.
And that makes me sad.
Oh, no.
But I'll try to
what
find
book was
another
it?
one of it. It was Padme's like diary. It was like the episode 1.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. Hopefully you can find it. I hope.
I know. I'm
if
sure
I
I
ever
can
see
find
it somewhere,
another
I'll make
one,
sure I
but
grab the copy. All right.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no. So that was it. I was after those books, I was hooked, and then the prequel trilogy came out, and that was like, and first off, like seeing the original Star Wars movies re-released in theaters, finally getting to see them on a big screen rather than, you know, like an old tube TV kind of thing back in the day. Like that was amazing. Seeing the prequels was amazing. So I've been just a big Star Wars fan ever since. But I really have to thank my co-host Charlie on my podcast for getting me like really, really back into Star Wars. Because I've always been a big fan, but kind of more of a, I don't want to say closeted fan, but not like a Star Wars content creator in that space. And he found out I was a Star Wars fan, and we started talking. He was just like, we should do a podcast. And obviously 95 episodes later, we've just kind of run with it.
I love it.
But like jumping in and doing that podcast, talking to so many people, learning so many people's stories, realizing that there's jumping in points for everyone at different places. Some people jumped in at the prequels, the sequels, Clone Wars, like picked up an Ahsoka novel. Like there are so many jumping in points that I have heard.
Yeah.
Each one just as valid as the last one. And it's just this love of like space wizards and ponchos and flashlights that can cut through metal. Like it's such a cool galaxy. And I love just like exploring that. And that's how I got into like starting cosplay stuff. And now I'm building a Mandalorian armor set. And it's just like all of this started because Charlie was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? And like, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's just, it's spiraled. It's become such an important, like publicly important part of my life, where before it was just like, you know, I'm going to watch the Star Wars movies a couple of times a year, and that's what I'll play on Disney Plus in my downtime and that kind of stuff. But never had that outlet. So now there's an outlet and a community, and I just love every part of it. It's awesome.
And I see your Mandalorian tattoo too.
Yep.
I know.
Mando
I've got
and Grogu,
Star Wars tattoos too.
And then that one.
Oh, I love it.
So it's like lightsabers.
the Jedi symbol and then like lightsabers underneath, and then you
Yeah,
have
so
a
like
Mandalorian
skull and
helmet too.
crossbones. Yeah, for anyone just listening. So
Yeah.
the Jedi symbol, yeah, I based it off of skull and crossbones. There's a cool tattoo artist that does like sticker tattoos, so it's also like a sticker looking kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that one I got specifically for because I was so bad for like doodling and sketching and throwing stickers in like school notepad books and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Same.
So when I saw he was doing sticker tattoos, and he did this my first tattoo over on this arm when my son was born. We named him Finn, and I got a shark tattoo because I
love
thought
it.
that was a
It's
fun
so
little dad
cute.
joke of always having a little fin on me. And so he did that, and I saw he was doing these sticker tattoos, and I was like, I have an idea that I love like pirates and Jedi, and that's kind of where that Pirate Jedi cosplay that I've done came out with my love of like Hondo and the Goonies and everything else. But I came up with this concept, and I was just like, what about like a sketched looking, looks like someone drew them, the lightsabers crossed underneath, and then like a sticker on top of it. And he was like excited, ran with it, just and I'm happy with how it turned out. And
I
then
love it.
yeah, the Mando and Grogu one. I had an appointment booked actually to finish this Pokemon. There's supposed to be a Game Boy underneath him,
Okay. Yeah.
and something happened, and the appointment had to be kind of like cut short because the Game Boy was going to take a little while, like
Yeah.
another few hours kind of thing. And I was just, I don't have the time right now. Can we do something different? I don't want to fully cancel my appointment. Can we do something like in the hour? And I've been tossing around this idea of like a Mandalorian something. So I literally sketched this out and sent it to an artist that, the same artist that did this Pokemon. And she was just like, yeah, I love that idea. That's so cute. And the longest part of this, like it came together so quick, and she knocked it out super quick, and she's so great. The hardest part of it was choosing the green for Grogu.
Yeah.
Because it was like I wanted to get that green right, and so did
See, I
she.
have no color. I have no color, so I
Oh
haven't
no,
had to do
okay.
that.
Yeah. It was so funny. And it's the first time I really painstakingly thought about a color. And so did the artist. It was so funny. She was like, I came prepared. I don't know if you thought of it, because I didn't think about it for a second at all. So when she came to me, she was just like, I have laid out all of these greens that I think will work. Pick your favorite. And that, of course, just like set me right off of like, oh, I have to pick the right one. This is going to be on me forever. But I think it came out pretty cute. So
Yeah,
I was
that's
very
awesome.
happy.
That's
And,
awesome.
and my son, so my son's 4. So he was born right around like, during the pandemic, right around that like Mandalorian came out. So I've always kind of seen our relationship as that like Mandalorian and my little
Yeah.
Grogu kind of thing.
Yeah.
Growing up and watching him grow up while I watched like the Mandalorian and saw, Din kind of like step up and become a dad and change priorities and do that kind of stuff and go through all that.
Yeah.
Has always just kind of like mirrored, me just wanting to base my life around this little goblin child that lives with me. So it was really, I'm really, really happy with this one. It's weirdly enough, my mom's favorite tattoo, and my mom doesn't love tattoos.
Yeah.
And my brother's like covered in them, and she's like, whatever. And my sister's covered in tattoos, and she's like, whatever. And I have a few
A
now.
couple, yeah.
And she just picked this one. She was like, that's my favorite one of anyone. That's weird, because I don't think she's watched an episode of The Mandalorian, but whatever, she thinks that one's cute. So I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah, there you go. Thankfully, I got my mom's favorite flower, and it has like other meanings to it. And so I'm a weird person, and pretty much all of my tattoos have like layers of meanings.
Oh, mine too. Mine too.
Yeah. And then so many people are like, oh, it was fun, I got it. And I'm like, I wish I could do that, but I can't.
I pointed out my Pokemon tattoo. This is my favorite Pokemon, but it has been my favorite Pokemon since I was a kid.
Yeah.
because it always reminded me of the pet rabbit that I had when I was a kid. Because it's a Nidoran, for anyone just listening. It's a Nidoran. They have rabbit-like ears. Always been my favorite. And this particular Nidoran, you'll see right here, has a little chip out of his ear, because my pet rabbit when I was a kid was named Chip and had a little chip out of his ear.
Oh, I love it.
So this is not only my favorite Pokemon, and I have such a history with that series, but also as a little dedication to my boy Chip, who was like my little shadow when I was younger.
Bunnies are fun.
They are. They're great. Underrated
We
pets.
had a friend that had a rabbit, and they're so fun.
Yeah. They're so cute.
I know.
They're so great. I like the tattoos that look on the surface of just like, oh, that's like a geeky thing or a cool thing or whatever. But I also prefer or enjoy mine to have like a little bit of that deeper kind of meaning.
Same. I always feel bad because like I love everybody at the tattoo shop that I go to, and they do some like amazing like flash tattoo days, and I was like, are you gonna come? I'm like, it has to mean like I'm just like so boring. I'm like, I can't. Like I have two of the flash ones that are Star Wars, but like other than that, it's like really hard for me to like just like randomly get something. I don't know. It's probably lame to some people, but yeah,
it's a
I was glad my mom liked the flower because tattoos aren't like her favorite. I love you, Mom, if you're listening. But the iris, she's thought it was pretty, so that made me happy because I was like, I was a little nervous because I don't think I told her that I was gonna get it, and I did. I think I did tell her. Like ahead of time. I did. I remember why, because she has some china that has irises on it, and I was like, "Can you send me pictures of the china?"
Nice.
And she was like, why? That's weird. And so I had to be like, okay, well, I'm getting this and this is why, and she was like, oh, okay. But he used like a combination of that, and I think like, I don't know, something else. But anyway, I was like, you were saying your mom likes that one. I was really nervous. But she likes the iris for sure.
Yeah. And that was like the first, like that cute little shark. Like it's blue like my son's eyes. It has like the little dad joke meaning to it. So my first tattoo after he was born, it was just like, you can't not like this one because it's him.
You're like, you can't not like it.
And then everything afterwards, it's just been like, why is there a Pokemon? I'm like, because of Chip. And she's just like, I hate you and your meanings behind things.
Why? I don't know. Like, I guess they're forever, like air quotes, but like, I just feel like there's already, everything changes so quickly, and you can now already get them lasered off. Like, I don't have an intention of getting a tattoo that I don't want later, but I do know 30 years down the road when I'm 65, if I don't want a tattoo, I could probably just put my arm in something and it's like, and they're gone. Like at that point, like I'm not that worried about them at this point being like a forever thing like they used to be. I mean, I don't think I'll regret it by any means. But I'm like, just in case, I don't think they're the things that, it's fine.
Or
Star Wars
just get your whole, get your whole arm taken off and replaced with a bionic arm. Robotic arm, like in Star Wars. At
and
that
this is
point,
where we're going with this
so far in the future, that's why you shouldn't be afraid to get tattoos, kids.
Just cut your arm off.
Star Wars is going to be real eventually, and you can get a robot arm. Please don't listen to any of my advice.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Your mom's going to be listening to this being like, don't ever get that man back.
No.
Never again.
No.
Tattoos and bionic arms? No. Banned. You're
done. No, I'm just kidding. So, bionic arms, droids, characters, all the Star Wars things. Do you have anybody? I mean, Luke had a robot hand, do you have any characters that like really have stuck out to you? throughout the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke probably is the first one to stand out. Like I said, that the rescue scene, the first bit of Return of the Jedi, watching Luke's story from nobody farm boy to hero of the galaxy, that was such a permanent imprint at an impressionable young time of my life, that it was
Yeah.
just like, he is like the definition of a hero. So Luke, always one of my favorites. Um, but then, you keep building on that. So you keep getting other characters, watching the Clone Wars, watching the prequels, Obi-Wan, very
Yeah.
much so. I'm wearing an Obi-Wan shirt. And always, it's, Ewan McGregor brought so much to that role. And again, in the Clone Wars, just fleshed that character out so much more, that you can't help but have that as a favorite, for me anyway.
Yeah.
But then even recent characters, like I said, like Gunji, one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorites, great lightsaber, fantastic Jedi. Freaked out, absolutely freaked out when he was back in the Bad Batch. Lost my freaking mind.
His little
Um,
tooth. I love it.
Oh yeah. And it was just like, he survived Order 66. He's okay. He's back with the book. It just all the emotions.
Yes.
Um, Mandalorian. Just not only, I've always loved Mandalorian armor
Mm-hmm.
designs. I'm so happy to be building my own set.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but Din as a character, kind of becoming a dad the same time I did. Awesome to see and grow up with. And then spending so much time with Cal Kestis in the 2 video games that we got, and luckily a third finally announced, and rumors today that he's coming to live action. Don't know if you saw those, but like, whew, I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
they picked the right actor to do
yeah,
both. So,
yeah.
I mean, not that
Why
other
make
people
him?
couldn't do both, but I just mean like with video games,
No,
I
yeah.
feel like a lot of times that's not a thought, you know?
No, absolutely. I said
But
that
they
from the
made him look like
start.
him, so I feel like that was intentional.
That's it. I've been saying that from the start. I do a video
Yeah.
game podcast too. And I've been saying that on both shows since the very start. Why make all of these characters, not only Cal, but all of the characters, look like the actors that they
Yeah.
got, and cast actors instead of like voice actors?
Yeah.
Why? Why all around, if you're not going to take these people and be like, here's Cal in a Disney Plus show, here's this person in something, like, just take advantage of those amazing characters and actors that you have. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy that it might finally be happening.
Yeah. I've been saying the same thing about Hayden being
Yeah,
back. I'm like, he's not just
yeah,
back for these little roles. Like
yeah,
we're getting something else. Like I just know we are.
yeah. I'm really hoping you're right. Um, yeah, really hoping you're right.
I said I
Um,
think. I don't know.
yeah,
I've said it before on other things. Like I really think we'll get like stories from maybe like the Vader comics or something. Like there's
man,
just
that would be so good.
there's too much PR, guys. Like people that don't understand how that works and how that world works, like it just flies over
Yeah,
your head. But like Natalie meeting Mark for the first time and that
yeah.
being everywhere, like all the things, and like her getting asked about Star Wars again, like
Mm-hmm.
there are reasons behind this stuff. Like it is
Yep.
to test to see what the audience is gonna be interested in, and
Yeah.
she could come back as Sabe, or something. So
Yeah. Do you play a lot of video games, or any at all?
so I do not.
Okay.
I'm not the best at them,
All right.
but I do want to. I do want to get into them more.
Oh, the reason I asked is specifically because of what you just said.
Yeah.
There's Vader Immortal. Is a game I don't think a lot of people played because it's a VR game, and I think that like segment of people that play VR games is pretty freaking small.
I've heard of that game though.
Very, very cool
I don't
game.
know how, but I have.
All right. Yeah. They did a good like kind of social media advertising blitz for it. So you probably like at least saw it
Maybe.
like
Yeah.
tangentially, just as like a, I like Star Wars and they're gonna target the ads to you. But great story, and there's a lot of it centers around Vader's obsession with bringing Padme back, which they've also touched on a bit in the comics, but
Yeah.
like could be such a great storyline because in the comics and in this, like in the game, I think you hear her. In the comics, you straight up see her interacting with like a ghost projection version of Anakin kind of thing. So like there are ways to bring her back even without going back in time to stories like to those kind of stories of like
Mm-hmm.
Vader just going deeper into the dark side and deeper into his obsession and her even rejecting him in that like spirit realm kind of deal. Could be some really, really cool stuff to explore and a great way to use Hayden and Natalie as
And even Ewan.
themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And that's why I think we won't get it. This is my like random theory of what they're doing. And I could be totally wrong, but I think that if they do something, it's gonna be the way of them like not having a Kenobi season 2. I think will be a different project, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
it might be like a Vader or something, and Ewan might be back in it, and we might still get to see some of what's going on with that story.
yeah.
But I think it'll be maybe, I don't know. Like, that's just my thought. But I
Yeah.
could be very wrong.
You know what though? They're already kind of testing the ground for that on the Marvel side of things on Disney Plus. And I don't know if you're a Marvel fan, but WandaVision was like the first Disney Plus Marvel show. Right now, they have Agatha All Along, which
Yeah,
started
yeah.
last week, and that completely different name, but basically a direct sequel to WandaVision. And that's being considered. They've already kind of like leaked this or announced it or said it. That's being considered as part 2 of a trilogy of shows, which is a weird concept.
Yeah.
Because they're all differently named. And the third one is going to be a Vision show. I think it's Vision Quest is the name that I've heard like marketed around or whatever. But like 3 shows, it's not WandaVision season 2. It's not, it's not that kind of continuation. It's 3 very separate shows with 3 very separate central characters and focus points, but they're all happening in the same like thread storyline.
Yeah, and timeline
timeline
you're
and that
still
kind of
getting
stuff.
more of the story, just like
Exactly
different.
from different angles and slightly different views. I think if that works for them on the Marvel side, there's no way Disney's not saying like, okay, we're testing this with Marvel. Let's see if it works with that. 100% we can use that to work with Star Wars. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Disney does. That's what they pay attention to.
Yeah,
They'll
I don't
test
know.
something with one
it's
franchise
in my gut.
and
It's what I
put it to
think,
another.
but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we've seen them kind of do that before with like backdoor pilots for Bad Batch inside the Clone Wars. And I'm hoping that they're working on another show that kind of, again, picks off from maybe it's Asajj continuing off or Omega continuing off without the Bad Batch. And they just kind of continue. But the same kind of thing, like if Clone Wars led to Bad Batch, leads to the next thing that they can definitely
it's like
do that.
Ahsoka. People are like, oh well, that's just another Rebel season, but live
100%.
action. Which I mean it is, but like
definitely was. And I loved every second of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, I don't mean that in like a bad way, but like some people did mean it in a bad way. And it's like, why don't you name it that? And it's like, well, I mean, it is more centered around her, but you do get the continuation of some of the Rebel storylines. And I think that could be the same case with like the Acolyte too. Like, they might not have a season 2, but they might do it differently. Because like and we've talked about this on here too, like it is a corporation that is like a publicly traded. They have things that they have to do.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not, that's how the company is, and most big companies like that can handle an IP like Star Wars. And so there's pros and cons to that. But at the same time, I think, with them announcing that they're going to scale back on TV shows, and that's like, some people are like, oh, a little disappointed in that because we won't get as much. But at the same time, if it is a regrouping that we need for some of the things to, do even more intentional stories than more
Mm-hmm.
stories, then like, that's great. I don't think there's anything like, we won't get as much, but
Yeah.
maybe it will be more like concise, or I don't know. Like, I've
If
been
it
happy with
the
things, so I'm not trying
it
to like
if it
drag any of
becomes
the projects, but
yeah, no. But if it becomes a quality versus quantity kind of thing, where again, feel how you will. I liked most of the Acolyte.
yeah,
There were definitely things that I think probably could have cooked a little longer. And again, going back to, my love of video games, today, a video game that I was very much looking forward to for this fall, Assassin's Creed, the latest entry into that series, just got pushed back. I had already been talking to my Ubisoft rep to like get an early access review code, all that kind of stuff. We were talking back and forth. I was excited, and it just got pushed back to February. They basically just came out and said, like, we need more time.
yeah,
Most people are like, nuts. I was hoping to play this. I look at it, as much of a fan as I am of that series, I look at that as a good thing, especially from a company like Ubisoft, who's known to rush some shit out.
yeah.
Um, like, there are games that they have launched broken.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of games that they've launched really, really broken. And so for that company to be maturing and realizing that fans aren't having it anymore, I think that takes a good level of maturity, even from a corporation.
Yeah,
And I hope that it's the same kind of approach with Disney and Star Wars and Marvel and all that kind of stuff that kind of feels oversaturated. Even if you're a fan of everything that comes out, some of it starts to get a little diluted. Some of it starts to get a little less like eventitized. I don't even
yeah,
know if that's a word,
yeah,
but like,
yeah,
like, I like it when Star Wars and Marvel, I remember going to like midnight launches of these movies, or like anticipating something only coming out once or twice a year. So if we can bring that level of hype back, and that level of like making it feel like an event, even if it's a TV show, and the quality's there, they can let it cook a little bit longer, make sure it's all ready to
yeah,
go. Um,
yeah.
Tentatively, I see this as a good thing, and I'm hoping, like you said, it's that maturity level.
I agree 100%. I think I don't think it's bad for anybody to like say, hey, I need more time in doing this, or I need to
Yeah.
push this back a little bit, because I mean, like you're saying, I think that does show a little bit more, I guess, maturity in some things, to be like, hey, this isn't exactly how we need it to be. We need more time. And while I think, yeah, there is disappointment when things are delayed or take longer, I think people understand and would rather something take a little bit more and like get it right than it be rushed and
Mm-hmm.
you have it, but it might not be like as visualized and completed as somebody might want.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know. I think it's always okay to give it to give it a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Well, with the games, books, movies, all the things, cosplays that you've been involved with Star Wars, what are some of the like lessons that you've learned from it?
Oh man. Um, there's a couple of things that stand out, and again, the first one that I think of is, I got this quote engraved on my iPad, which is, "We are what they grow beyond."
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a philosophy for parenthood that I've really really taken to heart. And Yoda said that one in was it
And
the
The
Last
Last
Jedi?
Jedi. Yeah.
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 And I love that quote. And you can say what you want to about that movie, but whatever. I think that's such a beautiful quote, and
Oh
it
yeah.
is
It's
just
a
like
great,
I
that whole
want.
moment is wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that is my whole philosophy with my kid is I want to instill every single lesson and every single thing that I have into him, and let him grow far beyond that.
Yeah.
So I really want that. And man, a lot are popping in my mind from the sequels, which is a weird one right now. But anyway, I guess there was some good quotes because like Rose Tico's like you beat them by saving what you love, not destroying what you hate. I think is such a
Yeah.
great philosophy
Yeah.
um, of just like you could approach everything with anger and you can fight fire with fire, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to just kind of step back and realize there's a different approach, and that
Yeah.
approach can be way more calm, way more thoughtful, way more full of understanding um, and a reasonable approach. Um, and just like I said with Luke, that's why I always stood out because it was that overcoming all of that to become or to go from a farm boy to like the greatest hero in the galaxy. So like no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you can make a difference kind of thing. I think that's also a very important Star Wars lesson that you can
Yeah.
always take and again, they did that in the prequels, the sequels, and the originals.
Yeah.
Taking someone who's nothing and making them important.
Yeah. Definitely. I think those are great things from Star Wars, and like so true in real life, because I think we can get down on ourselves where we are or where we come from, or what phase of life we might be in, but there is always hope, and there's always something that you can do, and you can make it about saving something that you love, or you can talk about everything that you hate. It just depends on kind of what you want to put out there, and that in turn can be what you teach the next generation. Whether it's like your aunt showing you things about Star Wars, and then you're here now, or you with your son. There's so many ways of being there for the next generation, like even if someone doesn't have kids,
Yeah,
impacting them in a way that is a positive way, for hope,
absolutely.
and
Yeah, I mean,
learning,
like,
and
yeah,
knowing that you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's a part of life.
yeah. You don't
And
have
that
to have
same,
your own kids to make an
yeah,
impact on future generations. You can do. I mean, this is a great like you don't know who's going to listen to this at
yeah,
any given point at any given episode and take something positive away from it, or just watch their first Star Wars movie and they're like, I love podcasts, I'm going to look it up, and this one pops up and they get welcomed into that fandom, into this fandom. Like, this kind of message is also just, so I think so important and so
yeah,
impactful in ways that we're sitting in our houses just kind of chit chatting about Star Wars, but
right.
like it's also broadening just that I think that welcoming atmosphere that sometimes the fandom can be lacking. And other times it's absolutely amazing to find all these people online who share your interests. So
Mm-hmm.
even in a small way, I think stuff like this can really go a long way.
I mean, you're the first person like outside of the US that's like been on the podcast,
Oh, well,
like, yeah. And so it's like, it's wild to me to even think about, like, I've I felt a little bit of that whole Luke or Rey feeling or Anakin feeling. Like, I'm from a very, very, very small state in the US that, like, a lot of people don't even know where it is on the map. And there's a lot of thoughts about people from where I'm from, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stereotypes, kind of like, I think Luke had to deal with, being from Tatooine, or Anakin had to deal with, I think the Luke a little bit more. I mean, he was just so ready to, he wanted to get his power converters from, the station. And
Yeah.
he was ready to get out of there. He wanted to go to the academy. He, want to get off this rock, and I've felt that. Like, I want to get out of this state. I want to get out of here. Like, just get me out of here. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be in a bigger place with bigger, shinier things that are better and blah, 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 all the things. And it, sometimes life doesn't go that way. And I still, to this day, think, how can someone from Arkansas do anything with this podcast? Because, like, when you think about it, you think of people that are like, they're in LA, they're in New York or whatever, and that's like where everything's happening and all the Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And it's like, well, I'm just this, you know, female in Arkansas that, one, girls aren't always considered fans, and it's intimidating at first.
Yeah.
And it was scary to get into, but like, now I'm talking to you and all the other wonderful people that I've talked to, and you're in Canada, and I have several people from the UK that are probably going to come on, and it's just wild to me that, like, this is the world that I'm living in right now. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, it's crazy,
It is wild.
So,
Um, and it's funny, like being on the other side and booking podcast guests. I am so used to booking people and telling people or making plans in Eastern time, because 98% of people that I talk to don't know that Atlantic time is a thing.
yeah.
That it's an hour ahead of Eastern time. Yeah, that's how far east I am. Floating on a little island in Atlantic Canada. Like, that's like I'm in a weird time zone even that people don't exist. So, like, how can I get a following online? How can I make a podcast that people listen to? Same kind of feelings,
Yeah, it's
100%.
weird.
Everything that
Yeah.
you were saying, I have felt and still feel sometimes when I'll see something and just be like, I am hours away from nowhere, you know? So
Yeah, I
how can
get
I
it.
get anywhere?
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, I guess, the power of, like, finding these communities online
Hey, the
and
chosen
having
one
that.
is Canadian, so it's all right.
Very true.
I always think about that, like, growing up in the US, and, a lot of the actors in Hollywood that are worldwide movies,
Mhm.
and or music that's like worldwide music, it's Americans. And it's got to be cool though. Like, I don't know, like, I think about weird things. I don't know if it's like the empath in me or like what it is, but I think about that, like, what would it be like to be a kid growing up in a different country, and like, in your country that's literally Anakin Skywalker, and just that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
my mind goes to those weird places.
Yeah. It was always a trip finding out, like, Anakin Skywalker's Canadian, or like Jim Carrey. Canadian. I was a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
Jim Carrey fan when I was a kid, and it was like seeing that, and like the funniest guy on the planet is Canadian. That is awesome. Like, Canadians can be funny. That's really cool. Um, yeah. So anything like that is so great. Before we started recording, you mentioned Letterkenny, and I was like,
Yes, and I
you
have
know
a
about
reason for
Letterkenny?
that. Yes,
Yes.
I know. Yes,
It's
Letterkenny.
so
It's a
great.
wild one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I asked you about if you liked Letterkenny, because I like asking people like fun questions. And
Okay.
I was going to ask it more towards the beginning, but here we are, after talking about all these things. And so, I'm going to try to phrase this right with where my brain is today.
Okay.
If you could take a character, think Freaky Friday, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So think Freaky Friday, but it's Letterkenny universe and Star Wars universe. And a character from Letterkenny got sent to a galaxy far, far away, and a character from Star Wars got sent to Letterkenny. Which character is getting picked for each and going to the other place? If that makes sense.
I love this question. First off, that is amazing. I love it. Oh my goodness. Who am I gonna pick here? There's so many great characters to pick. I'm going to swap Squirrely Dan with Chewbacca because I want to see how long it takes some people to notice.
I love it. I love it so much. I love him. He's so nice.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And hilarious fella, like IRL. Yeah, that's going to be my answer.
That's a good one.
He's coming he's coming here.
Oh, nice.
The guy that played, and I can't remember his name, but he's going to be here like, I think this month or like,
oh, that's awesome.
Oh no, like October. So I might go see him.
I picked you to switch with Chewbacca.
With Chewbacca, yeah. I'm going to have to just like, if I see him, I'll just like send him the link to this podcast and be just like, watch this. I swapped you and Chewbacca like Freaky Friday.
I feel like Chewbacca would love Canada. He'd be like, yes, this is great for all the fur. Like if it's cold, he would love it. I feel like he would like the puppers, the beer.
Absolutely. I also feel like Squirrely Dan would just be like, your sisters. Yeah, puppers.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like Squirrely Dan would just take one look at the Star Wars crew and be like, your sister's hot, Luke. And then try to run away and just get winded. I regret nothing.
But he'd be great as sidekick to Han Solo.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I normally don't answer my own questions.
I want to hear your answers.
Too good. I do have somebody. I would switch Kylo Ren and Stuart.
Oh no. Oh my God. That is better than my answer. 100%. I love that so much.
And I want it to be during like one of the Skids like EDM sessions. And all of a sudden he's just like in Kylo's ship and he was like dancing and then he like wakes up and he's like, like opens his eyes from dancing. It's like, why am I here? Where am I? Like,
and then he just doesn't even care. He just keeps dancing.
Yeah.
Just Kylo Ren, full costume, just dancing like a skid.
Yeah. Like, what is this helmet thing? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And everyone would tell Kylo to play hockey. They'd be like, dude, you need to play hockey. You see this guy's abs? He needs to play hockey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely just Kylo Ren walking around with the helmet on, but no shirt, walking around Starkiller Base, just kind of blasting EDM through all of the loudspeakers. The stormtroopers, like, what the hell is going on? Hux is having a like fit. And Darth 100%
Stewart.
could see that. Darth Stewart.
Stewart.
I love it.
Stewart. I love it too.
Stewart.
That's like one of the things that I have wanted to ask if Hayden watches Letterkenny, because I think it would be hilarious to have like an Obi-Wan Anakin meme or something where like Obi-Wan is like has a high ground and he's like patter Anakin. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it is.
I will love that and might have to try to Photoshop that badly.
Do it. You should do it. Dressed up like Obi-Wan.
I was just thinking like bad Photoshop skills. You're thinking like full on cosplay and like, that would be a funny video. I might.
Yeah, you should do it.
Getting the wheels turning now.
It's like
that'd be good.
Anakin cosplayer. And it'd be good. It'd be good.
I'm sure I can find one.
I love it. Really well, before we wrap it up, a couple more things.
All right.
One, is there anything that you would like for people to take away from this fun conversation about all the things?
The only thing I want people to take away from this conversation is listen to this conversation and realize that Star Wars can be very serious and have really good life lessons, but it can
Mm-hmm.
also be insanely stupid and silly. And
Yeah.
both of those are okay.
Yes. Yes.
Both, like, it is a galaxy where lasers can cut through everything except other lasers. And okay, and lasers have like finite definition ending points. And if you're familiar with lasers, just stop trying to make sense of it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
stupid. You can take some serious things away from it and learn some lessons, and
Definitely.
like, you know, do that kind of fun stuff. But you can also just Freaky Friday swap, Stewart for Kylo Ren and just have a time with
Or
it.
Squirrely
So
Dan for Chewbacca. I think those are both
yeah,
great,
they're both great.
great
Um,
fits.
yeah, I think with the Kylo Ren now, I also want Rolled and Hux to switch bodies,
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
because I can just like Hux's voice screaming, Stewart, Kylo Stewart.
or it's kind of funny. It's funny that way, but it's also funny with it being opposite. Because could you imagine if you thought Stewart was already a lot for poor role, like Kylo,
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
and
Fantastic.
then Hux would end up doing anything that Stewart wants. I feel like somehow he would convince him. Like
Yes.
even though he
Yeah.
hates Kylo, he'd be like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes,
I
it would
like
be
it.
funny to have
I
that
like that too.
switched too.
That'd be great. Yeah, but that's the only thing. Just like Star Wars can be funny. Star
It's
Wars can be
deep and
silly. It
funny.
should be. Yeah. It's okay to not take it seriously at all, because none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just enjoy the ponchos and laser swords and space wizards and
Yes.
Mandalorian thingies with
Yes.
bucket
I mean,
heads.
like, I love, obviously, I geek out
Yeah.
over the deeper meanings and things over Star
Yeah.
Wars, but I always say that doesn't make anything better of a fan or whatever. Like, if you just think lightsabers are cool, great. You're a Star Wars fan. If you think, like, R2D2 and C3PO are like funny and like have these like horrible, hilarious dad joke puns. Great, you're a Star Wars fan. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be. I like to geek out on those things, but not everybody does, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make one better than the other. It's just
Mm-mm.
it's fun, you know.
Yeah.
It's Star Wars. It's fun, you
That's
know.
it.
Yeah, it's great. Um, Other thing, because I didn't get to ask you about this, and I do want you to talk about it, is your Mandalorian armor that you're building.
Yeah. Sure. Um, so that is, if anyone has not followed me on Instagram, follow me as Canerdian_Jedi, and you can see all of this stuff. But I'll explain a little bit. Actually, I was working on some stuff, so I do have the helmet here, which is just a Mandalorian helmet, but I've painted it.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I've been 3D printing my own kind of custom armor. I based it off of a Celtic Warrior design, with like, Celtic Warrior body paint was all like blue swirly kind of things. So that is what's kind of painted on the chest pieces. It's white with blue paint. I've added some chainmail. I am modifying it. Actually, as soon as we hang up this, I'm printing 2 new arm pieces, because I've started modifying the design a little bit because I wasn't happy with the first run.
Yeah.
But it's also a kilted Mandalorian. So it's a Mandalorian in a kilt, Celtic, Scottish kind of warrior. We talked about deeper meanings with tattoos. So this one has some meanings. My mom's side of my family, Scottish. So I took, there's a bee on the Mandalorian chest piece. That is from my mother's family crest, the Ferguson
awesome.
family crest. There's a bee on the crest there. So I took that from that. There's a dragonfly on the collar piece, which was always like a kind of thing for my grandmother, who passed away a couple of years ago. So yeah, a lot of that, the deep kind of like family meaning kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even the name of the Mandalorian, like my original character's name is Fergus, for like the Ferguson family.
That's awesome.
So yeah, the whole thing is it's taken a while. I'm building it like piece by piece and 3D printing it and all that kind of stuff, and got the kilt, and I'm hoping to find a Ferguson tartan, but I haven't been able to. So right now I have just like a Nova Scotia tartan, just kind of generic. One that I threw in there as well. Yeah, it's been a while, and I'm gonna hopefully really like publicly debut it at a con that I'm going to, that I really can't wait. So it's
That's
it's
so
been a fun build.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love hearing about like when people build like Mandalorian like armor and it's not like a screen accurate like build. It's always seems to be like so personal and have
Yeah.
different things. And what a cool way to honor your mom and your grandma and like your family, like history and everything. Like it's really cool. That's one of the things like I didn't even know about like the Mandalorian mercs for a long time.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect about that group is that it's not just screen accurate. Like you can, and that's like so Mandalorian. I love it. But you know, you can do all the things, and
it's great.
It's so fun. So that's so cool. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I knew you were in the process of doing all of that, and I know
so close
other
to done.
people find it interesting too. So
thank you.
Thanks for sharing that with me and for coming on. And I guess to kind of close out everything, remind everybody again, I'll have stuff down in the description below, but remind everybody like your podcast and your handles and all of those things.
Yeah, like I said, you can follow me mostly Instagram, but Threads and TikTok everything's the same handle. So it's Canerdian _ Jedi. Just look at the show notes for the spelling of Canerdian.
I love that.
That's the easiest thing. And that was a nickname given to me on another podcast years ago that someone said something, and I said like a Canadian nerd, like a Canerdian, and he was just like, nope, that's your nickname now. So thanks, Sean. So that's mainly where you can find me, and then every opposite 2 weeks, I swap between a video game podcast called Co-op Mode and a Star Wars podcast called Holocron Chronicles. And if you'd like to be a guest on either, send me a message. We're always looking for new people to chat Star Wars or video games or both. Let me know.
Well, sweet. Well, thank you, Mark, for coming on. It was a pleasure to get to talk to you. And I know it is really late where you are, so
it's okay. Don't worry about that.
Super a lot longer, but I just think it's so cool how, virtually you can record podcasts with people all over the place. It's
amazing.
Just such a cool thing. But
thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, it was great having you, and I'm sure there'll be more times when we talk a lot more Star Wars.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining me today on Tales of the Force. This podcast was hosted, produced, and created by me, Jessica McNair, with music by Michael Hoover. Don't forget, our stories of hope is the force of this fandom, and they are a powerful ally to each and every one of us. Life creates them, makes them grow. Their energy surrounds us and binds us together. Luminous beings we all are, not this crude matter. May the Force be with you always.